بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. صلى الله عليك يا سيدي يا رسول الله، صلى الله عليك وعلى أهل بيتك المظلومين، صلى الله عليك يا مولاي وابن مولاي يا أبا عبد الله، يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة. ما خاب من تمسك بكم، أمن من لجأ إليكم. يا ليتنا كنا معكم فنفوز فوزا عظيما. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن سيدنا وعظيمنا وحبيب قلوبنا النبي المؤيد والرسول المسدد والمصطفى الأمجد والمحمود الأحمد حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم محمد صلوات الله وسلامه عليه وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين، سفن النجاة الأعلام، من ركب سفينتهم نجا ومن تخلف عنها هلك وغرق. ثم أما بعد. Respected elders, brothers and sisters, teachers, Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا، حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك ورأفتك يا أرحم الراحمين. As we spoke yesterday, that under the denomination pardon me, under the domination of rationalism and secularism, there were questions about the whole significance of religion in the life of our youth. So the confusion is so much out there because of these modern concepts that are going into the curriculums, directly or indirectly. By the way, this is happening. There is a subtle agenda out there to introduce such perspectives and such ideas within the curriculums. When I talk about curriculums, I'm talking the academia curriculums, whether it's at school, whether it's at universities, whether it's at colleges, you name it. There is that subtle and sometimes apparent. It's not subtle anymore. It is confrontationalist. It is there in your face. So much so that these people have been gaining so much momentum that now they come and argue with force. They argue with you from the basis that you are absolutely wrong and you have no leg to stand on. And add to that dimension, not only the rationalist or the secularist or the atheist, add to now the gender pushers. The gender pushers, those who are pushing the gender idea. One day I was arguing with one of these people. I said, listen to me, listen. My problem with you is not personal. I have no problem with you on a personal basis. You want to be whatever you want to be. Like one day a student comes in one of the schools, I don't want to name the school, and the teacher is talking to that kid, and he said to him, to that child, he's about 8-year-old. He says, go and sit on your desk, on your chair. He said, no, sir, I don't feel like sitting on my chair today. He said, why? He said, because today I want you to treat me like a dog. Because today I affiliate myself as being a dog. And that poor teacher, he cannot say a word. So he said, but you know what? Fine, you today affiliate with yourself as being a dog. How do you want me to treat you? And what do? I put you in the corner and I put you like a small plate of water with some cornflakes, or what do you want? He said, yeah, do exactly that. حبيبي احنا فاتحين مدرسة لو فاتحين يعني فندق للحيوانات. Today there are hotels for animal يعني if you want to go on a holiday, you put your cat in a hotel, or you put your dog, whatever the case may be. This is the idea that, you know, what comes to mind sometimes is I say to myself and to my youth, everyone has an agenda. Where is your agenda? Where is your agenda as a Muslim? Where is your agenda as a follower of the one who has placed the most significant agenda of self-respect and principles and values, such as none other than Maulana Abi Abdullah al-Hussain salawatullah wa salam alayh, right? He's our inspiration when it comes to the question of values and morality and fighting against injustice and standing for the truth and so on and so on and so on and so on, right? He should become my role model in everything I do and I say. So I said to that person, my problem with you is not personal. But if I put 1,000 men on an island, after 10 years or 50 years, what will happen to these 1,000 men? He said, they will perish. He said, that's my problem. That's my problem. But you put on an island 50 women and 100 men, what will happen? He said, there is a continuation of procreation. The human race will continue to procreate. Okay? I said, the agenda you are pushing is for the elimination and the annihilation of the human race. That's what's happening. Right? That is what is happening. And it is amazing the concept they come up with in terms to lure you with statement that makes no sense whatsoever. One day there was a rally in one part of the world. What is this rally for? The rally is to support abortionists. Okay? The rally is to support abortionists. What is the motto? The motto for that rally, what is it? What is it, doctor? Do you know? My body, my choice. My body, my choice. On the poster that they say, my body, my choice, there is a small remark at the end. You know what it says? You must be double vaccinated. Hello? My body, my choice. Hajib. My body, my choice. So if I don't want to be vaccinated, it's no longer a valid participation. May you saying my body, my choice. Discrepancies, but they are overtaking the world with this glitter language, I call it. You know, the glitter language. You know, and then they pass their agenda with the small fine prints, as they call them. With the small fine prints, as they call them. And that's what we need to be alerted to. The fine prints, right? The fine prints that are happening under our own guise. These questions are so common now that seeking ways to encounter the state of confusion and alienation from one's religious and moral roots have overwhelmed our youth to such an extent that it created in them a twofold identity, as I said 2 days ago. It created in them a twofold identity, one at home and one outside the home. You don't want to see what happens to students when they come to study abroad. You don't want to see them. We know them, right? Because some of them, they try to come to our mosque, and some of them, they don't even want to be identified as being Muslims when they come to study abroad. And then when they go home, they have an immediate confrontation with the culture and the environment back home, because now they've what do you call it? When you go to college, what is the first thing you put on hold? What is the first thing you put on neutral? You know, if you drive manual, there's neutral. You know, there's drive. What is the first thing they put on neutral? Religion. Straight away they put Allah on private setting. right? Straight away for 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, whatever the amount is, the study time, they go to study, and Allah is out of the equation. Allah is out of the equation. So the root of this identity crisis is first, number one, the absence of a healthy family life for the young. There is an amazing and an absolute dichotomy that separates parents from their kids. Parents are in one valley or on completely one planet. The kids are in a completely different planet. You know? And until now, some parents think that their children don't know the basics of life. So they think, oh, like someone was telling me yesterday, he's a PhD in growth and development. He says, at what age a child becomes cognitive? Ask yourself, at what age a child becomes cognitive? At what age do you think? Yani they become aware of their surroundings. They have cognition of what is happening around them. Or they learn certain habits. At what age? 2 months. 2 months. 2 months. You know, I'll give you a proof. I'll give you an idea. Why 2 months? A child, when he's born and wants to cry, wants feeding, cries until what? Until the bottle is made, right? 1 month, 2 months of training, they become accustomed, they become aware or cognitive that, no, I don't have to cry. I'll tell you when I need to cry. Or I know when the milk is coming. The minute the light switches on in my room, I know mom is coming with the bottle. Khalas, I don't have to cry anymore. This child who's cognitive at 2 months, at 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, I think he's stupid and doesn't understand anything. Ajib, right? Yet this child knows everything that is happening around him. When the father and mother are fighting, he knows they are fighting. When there is a financial issue at home, he knows there is a financial issue at home. When there is a death in the, he knows there is a death in the house. Do not underestimate the cognitive ability of your children. So you need to deal with it from that perspective. You have an issue with your wife, do not ever argue in front of your kids. Take her to, I don't know what, Mesila Beach, all right? Book a room in Movenpick, or I don't know what, and then do whatever you want. Argue, but do not do it in front of the kids, right? Do not do, go into the car, turn on your AC, and stand on Al-Khalil Arabi Road. Do whatever you want. But do not bring the children into it, because they will be traumatized. That's what will happen to them. They will seek a way out of the home environment. I'm not trying to, whip myself. I'm being realistic. It's not about whipping ourselves. It's about knowing where and how to go forward so we don't need to whip ourselves. We are still good communities. We are still very, conservative committees and so on and so forth, that we know certain values that we need to keep. But in saying so, we need to also be aware of these challenges that are happening to us, and we need to be accommodating and very much alerted to these kinds of activities that are taking place within our environments. Secondly, lack of transparency at home and double standard in dealing with certain situations. Do not ever mix religion with culture at home. Ever. Because your children will catch you out. They will tell you, don't mix religion with culture. Okay? Either teach me religion per se, or tell me this is culture per se. But don't tell me when it suits you, that's religion. When it doesn't suit you, that's culture. Right? Yes, culture sometimes conforms with religion. Fine, keep it. No problem. مثل ما نقول بالتعريف الفقهي العرف, which is the kind of culture or the kind of habits that we have that do conform with religious teachings. Fine, keep this urf, keep this kind of culture in place. But don't import cultures that have got nothing to do with religion and then impose it as if it is part of our faith or part of our rituals. No, it's not. It is not under any circumstances. Limit the state of confusion when it comes to a matter of mixing culture with tradition and tradition with culture and tradition with religion as much as you can. So you do not create a state of confusion in the mind of our children, because they've had enough. They've had enough. And that's when you find our children seeking out. Seeking out, right? For example, when it comes to a question of hijab, one day a girl comes to me and she says, my mother is religious, my dad is religious, but they're religious in a cultural way. You know, more like aib than haram. You know the concept of aib? Aib as opposed to haram. So they're more aib as opposed to haram. So I said, yes, so what's your problem? She said, well, it's aib to them, for example, not to dress modestly, but it's okay not to wear the hijab. So I decided to wear the hijab. All of a sudden, there was war at home. I said, war from who? She said, from my parents. I said, you're kidding me, aren't you? She said, no, Sheikh, I'm serious. I want to put the hijab on, and he is why my mother don't want me to wear the hijab. I said, what? She said, it's aib for you to have the hijab when your mother is not in hijab. What aib got to do with Allah? This is religion now, right? We're not talking about aib. If you feel it's aib, go put the hijab yourself then, right? Go put it yourself. Support your daughter. Support your daughter. It's aib to lie to your parents, but it's okay if the parents lie to you. Ajib. Allahu Akbar. How is that possible? You know, you do not be the perpetrator of teaching lies to your children, right? No, you can lie to everyone, but don't lie to your parents. Okay, I'm not going to lie to you, but can you lie to me? So where were you at 2 o'clock in the morning yesterday, Dad? I had khafara. I had, what do you call it? Night shift, right? I had night shift. But the guy knows that he was hanging out with his friends playing arba'miyah. You know, why are you lying to your kids? You were not in a night shift. He knows. But there is a curfew on the kid. Come at 10. If you don't come at 10, 2 weeks off your fortnight. Habibi, fortnight is his life now. It's his lifeline. Take fortnight from him. He can't leave. He can't operate. Right? So you cannot have double standard when it comes to these kind of activities. You don't want your son or daughter not to lie to you. You become the epitome of truth to them. Right? You become the epitome, the apex, the highlight of truth in their life. And don't ever tell them, God curses the liars. No. Teach them that Allah loves the true tellers. It sinks better in their mind. It sinks better than saying to them that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not like the lies. Number 3, amalgamation of what is specifically culture and what is specifically we spoke about. Number 4, absence of community program that empowers our youth to strengthen and understand their aqeedah better. Without these kind of programs, our children will be an open target, whether it is through the social networks, the school curriculums, the university, atmosphere, college atmosphere, studying abroad atmosphere. They will be targeted to these kind of agendas. An easy target. The only way you can protect our children from any form of attack from these kind of activities and perspectives if they know their aqeedah well. And the aqeedah starts with what? Starts with Quran. You do not have Quran, you do not know your aqeedah. 2 days ago, yesterday, at almost like 1:30 at night, someone sends me a video of a Christian guy, who decided to read the whole Quran in one go. So it took him 18 hours. And to prove that he actually read the whole Quran, he went live stream. And every time he would finish a page, when you are in jail and you calculate the number of days, on his body, He was doing chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3 until his whole body was covered with ink marks, marking where he's at in terms of reciting the Quran. The idea behind it was what? He says, listen to that. The idea behind it, he says, I wanted to see this Quran that people tells me it actually promote and teaches terrorism. He said, by the time I finished the Quran, I actually started questioning my own faith. Because we claim to be a monotheistic faith, like Christianity and Judaism, supposed to be monotheistic religions. He said, and I found we are so far from being monotheistic. I found only Islam is the religion that truly pushes the agenda of monotheism. Then he said the most highlighted concept that I found so much pleasure in the Quran is how much the Quran emphasizes respect for parents and family dynamics. Allahu Akbar. And you want to run from your Quran, and you say my Quran is not good enough for me, and you want to say my Islam is not modern enough to be part of and parcel of my public life and my private life. Non-Muslims are admitting to the truth of that Quran, admitting to the amazement of that Quran, to the miraculous nature of the Quran, and we are running from our Quran. Ajib wallah. Rasulullah, day and night, night and day, he screams out with the loudest of his voice, ألا إني تارك فيكم الثقلين ما إن تمسكتم بهما فلن تضلوا بعدي أبدا كتاب الله وعترتي أهل بيتي الله أكبر ولن يفترقا حتى يردا علي الحوض. Meaning they will never separate from one another. You know, this is also very interesting, by the way, brothers and sisters. Keep this in mind. Those who argue against the presence of a living Imam, this hadith in itself proves the existence of a living Imam. Why? Because Allah says, Rasulullah says, لَن يَفْتَرِقَا. That means there has to be a living Imam to be side by side with the Quran. Right? Otherwise, if the Prophet did not say وَلَن يَفْتَرِقَا, it means, yeah, it's possible the Quran to exist without an Imam, or the Imam to exist without the Quran. But when he links them together and said وَلَن يَفْتَرِقَا, it means there has to be an Imam living every time as long as the Quran is among us. Right? Subhanallah. It's amazing. These concepts that are there in the hadith for our own benefit to ponder and to think about. So this amalgamation, which is specifically, the absence of community programs are of utmost importance. And I was alerted, and it brought to my mind that alhamdulillah, we have certain people among our community who left everything and concentrated on teaching the Quran. May Allah bless them, whoever they are, wherever they are, right? In order to consolidate the aqidah of our children with the first source of what? What is the Quran? The first source of legislation, right or wrong? Quran is the first source of legislation. We have four sources: Quran, the Sunnah, meaning the saying of the Prophet and Ahlul Bayt. We have ijma' of the scholars, and we have aql. The four sources of extrapolating laws. يعني استنباط الحكم من from this kind of resources. So we need to concentrate on these programs. May Allah bless, for example, those people who've initiated these programs in English in this Hussainiyah and other Hussainiyah, because there is a need for it. May Allah prolong their life in order to keep serving this special segment and special community that needs these kind of activities. You know what? You want to teach your children Arabic? I'm all for it. But in the meantime, when your children cannot learn Arabic or are in the process of learning Arabic, at least side by side, let them learn their Aqidah in whatever language that they can understand and comprehend, right or wrong. That way they would not lose. They will not lose on learning their Aqidah, because they have a language they can access in order to learn that Aqidah. And that Aqidah then gives them immunity against any kind of attack that comes to them when it comes to this kind of new concepts and perspectives that are creeping within our communities and within our societies. Now, therefore, in our quest to protect our youth, we need to take the following into perspective. Number one, to develop relationship with youth who are under constant external pressure to conform to the demands that smack culture of disbelief and meaningless existence in their face on a daily basis. So we need to bring this youth, sit with them, talk with them, have open discussions. I've always called for the past 20 years, Allah is my witness. Yes, lectures in Muharram are phenomenal and they kept us within our faith. And I said last time, this is something that is peculiar to the followers of Ahlul Bayt Salamullah alayhim. You will not find a community in the entire world, brothers and sisters, where they have a 10-day conference every year for the past 1,400 years. Right or wrong? Right? Where is a community that holds majalis, 10 days of, I call this a conference. Yani subhanallah, when I get a link from one of our community members, that link lists 13 pages of Hussainiyat. Each one has a majlis. This says a lot. And this is as far of a country which is only 16,000 square meters, right? 16,000 square meters. I still remember from geography lessons when I was in school. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. 16,000 something, right? So imagine in other part of the world. Imagine in the non-Arabic speaking part of the world. What a wealth, what a tsunami of ideas that are spreading left, right, and center in order to imagine, wallah, just imagine, brothers and sisters, if there was no Hussein and no majalis of Hussein, in what shape would be our iman today? In what shape? Right? I would say we would not even have from Islam except its inscription, you know, or its image. Its image, nothing else, right? It's because of the blessing of Imam Hussein salawatullahi wasalamu alayhi. Allah Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is the one who says about Imam Hussein, Safinatun Najat. You know, Imam al-Sadiq says, we are all Sufunu Najat. We are all Ark of Salvation. But Safinatu Jaddil Hussein Asra. Allahu Akbar. He said, but the vessel and the ark of my grandfather Imam Hussein is the most swiftly running, the fastest running one towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because of the wealth of what he was able to offer through that revolution of his. Salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhi. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The second thing we need to be very aware of, and that is something we need to introduce in our own families. Look for trouble spots with your children and your youth. What does that mean? It means that our youth may be doing well in school or college, getting good grades and rave reviews. However, but appear to be obsessed with something or someone that collides with our values. And we are not aware. We are all we just content with the what? With that, what do you call it? Certificate that comes at the end of the term. You've done well in maths? Fantastic. You've done well in chemistry? Amazing. Physics? 19 out of 20. Chemistry? 19 out of 20. Arabic? 7 out of 10. Or 7 out of 20. It's okay, you'll catch up. Excuse me? And then religion, deen, الإسلامي. كعكة 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 كعكة. بالحديث كعكة. بعدهم يسمون كعكة. بالحديث كعكة. بالقرآن كعكة. حديث. And then he says, what is this? When I see this certificate, if that was my child, I would say, Habibi, what happened? Is your father Christian and your mother is Jew? That you failed religion? Seriously, what is going on? What is going on? Yani, you could not fail except in religion. But what does that tell you? What does that tell you? That in actual fact, there is no religion at home. These are the trouble spots that we need to look at. We need to examine. We need to look for in our children. And it's not about having a tug of war with our children. No. No. You know, I really do get excited from that member. But please don't take offense. I'm not trying to put anyone down. It's just the excitement of the lecture itself. It's not aimed at anyone. هاي يسمونها حرقة غيرة. والله غيرة. It's out of concern, nothing else and nothing more. So the approach, however, should be one of accommodating. Sit with your children, talk to them. How can I help you? How can we both, this is the best approach, by the, how can we both grow in religion? Don't pretend all of a sudden that you are the imam and they are the peripherals. No, no, no. We are all open to learning. لا يظل العالم عالما حتى يظن أنه يتعلم فإذا ظن أنه علم فقد جهل. This is a formula. If a scholar thinks that for as long as he's learning, he's a scholar, and he will continue to learn to remain a scholar, fine. But the minute he thinks he has now comprehended or encapsulated all the knowledge, this is the first sign of his what? Ignorance. The first step of his ignorance. Because no one has all the knowledge. Rasulullah in the Quran, Allah teaches him. He says to him, say, Ya Rasulullah, وَقُلْ رَبِّ زِدْنِي عِلْمًا. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. And he's the one that Allah revealed to him so many sciences and so many information and data that he was able to teach Imam Ali 1 million of this data knowledge, right? 1 million chapters of this kind of data knowledge. So we need to sit and talk and examine and be open about these matters, even if we find out the reason why our children are colliding with our values and culture. We should not lose our temper. Rather, we should calm, sit, be calculated, and know how to approach the subject matter and have an open discussion with our children, right? Number 3, we must talk to them instead of rebuking or putting undue restrictions on them. Emphasize the values they had learned earlier. How could they be better off by living life based on morality and virtue? Do you want them to be virtuous? You want them to be moral? Show them the advantages and disadvantages of having morals and not having morals. And see, common sense dictates that they will submit and tell you, definitely this is a life that is better than that. Sonny Bill William, have you heard of him? Sonny Bill William is a New Zealand rugby league player who became Muslim. Okay? Yesterday, not long ago, he went and performed Hajj. Okay? He came out after performing Hajj. He said, what a blessing that I came to Islam. Because every day I would not leave the clubs and the discos until 2 in the morning. And now I do not leave the mosque until I pray Fajr Salah. Subhanallah. Look at the paradox. From that end to that end. From one extreme to another, not extreme, pleasure. Subhanallah. He goes to the mosque, he attends to his family, he does, but he says, I won't compromise on Salatul Fajr. Allahu Akbar. This is a guy from New Zealand, he's a Maori, he never knew what Islam is. You know, but when they dig deep and they learn it the proper way, they become so absorbed into it that they will not compromise or willing to give it up under any circumstances. Even if it means they lose their contract with the clubs they play for. You know, because he's one person who was also very vocal when it came to that issue of gender in Australia and New Zealand. And he spoke widely and they told him, you will lose your contracts. He said, take your contracts and bury it wherever you want. This is my faith. Don't mess with my faith. Don't mess with my faith. This is the kind of faith and building structure of iman that we need to put and inculcate in the mind and hearts of our children. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Tomorrow I will speak about this matter because I have to go to the Majlis. Tonight we're starting the bigger night of our Muharram program, the night of Ashab. Tomorrow the night of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, Salamullah alayh. And already I'm running out of time, subhanallah. But point number 4 tomorrow that I want to give you the heading so that you look forward to it, inshallah. I hope you look forward to it, is avoid stigmatization. Do not stigmatize your children. Do not put them in the same fold as everyone else. We must be sensitive to their feelings. I end here. Don't think your kids don't have feelings. Things do hurt them when you speak to them in a particular way or in a particular fashion, or you try to put them down in a particular way. This will cause trauma in them. And you know what? Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, there is nothing that you say beautifully that does not make you more beautiful. The more you put things in an eloquent way, the more it makes you better. And every time you put something negative or abusive into something, the more it makes you or makes the concept, even if it's right, uglier. Right or wrong? Right or wrong? Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, in his approach, in his da'wah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to his prophet, and he says to him, وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَىٰ خُلُقٍ. Yet he tells him in another place, وَلَوْ كُنْتَ فَضًّا غَلِيظَ الْقَلْبِ لَانْفَضُّوا مِنْ. Allahu Akbar. He chose this prophet because Allah describes him as someone having the epitome of akhlaq, the highest level of akhlaq, right? Allah says, إِنَّكَ لَعَلَى ظَرْف مَكَان. It's like you're sitting on akhlaq. You're not acquiring akhlaq, right? It's like you're sitting on akhlaq, and akhlaq are what? Are dripping from you, Ya Rasulullah. Subhanallah. It's like you became the pond of akhlaq, the river of akhlaq, the sea of akhlaq that people come and they take from you. You know, وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ, right? And then he tells him, but be wary. As if Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was ever entertaining any of these kind of adjectives or kind of characters that he would be fadh or ghalidh. No, he was always immaculate in the way he spoke, salawatullah wa salam alayhi. These are the caliber of youth we want. These are the caliber of youth Imam Hussein had, salawatullah wa salam alayhi, right? When you look at all those young people that came to his rescue, salawatullah wa salam alayhi, people who came and they were so infatuated with love with Imam Hussein, salawatullah wa salam alayhi. Just like, for example, the like of Shakir, his Mawla Shawdab, Al-Hurr al-Riyahi, and his son. You know, all these young characteristics that were in Muharram, who came for the to be with Imam Hussein salawatullah wa salamu alayh in that particular place or in that particular time of the incident of Karbala. Today we are talking, as I said, about the ashab. And what do we find in this ashab? I'm gonna begin from Al-Hurr. Al-Hurr is the one who stopped Imam Hussein from what? Ultimately going to Kufa, because that's his station, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. Now, Al-Hurr, on the 10th day of Al-Muharram, he looks at Umar ibn Sa'd. Umar ibn Sa'd is reading a letter. He says, what is this that you're reading? He said, I received a letter from Yazid ibn Muawiyah saying, either Hussein yanzilu ala hukmi, either Hussein will accept my oath of allegiance, or you kill him and everyone with him. You know, Al-Hurr, when he initially came to Karbala, he was never told that there was a battle gonna ensue with Hussein. He would not have left. All he was told, block his way so he would not arrive in Kufa. That's all he was told. Salamullah alayh wa ridwanullah ta'ala alayh. And then he says, are you being serious? أَمُقَاتِلٌ أَنْتَ هَذَا الرَّجُلُ? Seriously, you're going to fight against this man? Look at the audacity of Umar ibn Sa'd. He says, Wallah, inni muqatin lahu qitalan aysaruhu an tasquta al-ru'usa wa tatatayaru al-aydi. Ajib. He said, of course I'm fighting him. The least of the fight is that we're going to see heads being chopped off and hands and lips being flying everywhere. Goes flying everywhere. So at that time, Al-Hurr began to tremble. Not out of fear. Not out of fear. Because there is something bigger to think about now. He began to tremble. He began to shake. Al-Aws ibn Muhajir looks at him, or Al-Muhajir ibn Aws, look at Al-Hurr. He says, Wallah, لو قيل لي من أشجع أهل الكوفة ما عدوتك. If I was to be told who is the most fearsome warrior of all the Kufans and the Arabs, I would not name anyone but you. And Al-Hurr al-Riyahi, salamullah alayhi, he says to Al-Muhajir ibn Aws, Wayhak, I'm not afraid, I'm not worried, ولكن إني أخير نفسي بين الجنة والنار ووالله لا أختار على الجنة شيء. And by Allah, I will not choose over Jannah anything. I'm giving myself a choice whether I should go for Jannah or Nar. Because being with you guys is Nar. Going with Hussein is definitely paradise. Paradise. And then Umar ibn Sa'd becomes so infuriated, so angered by the statement of Al-Hurr. He takes an arrow and he says to everyone, Ishhadu li 'inda al-amir annani awwalu man ramit. He takes the arrow and he throws it towards the tents of the Imam of Imam Hussein's woman, salawatullahi wasalamu alayhim, and the whole army throws their arrows after. The riwayah says every member of the household, every member of the companions of the Imam were hit by an arrow somehow. And by the way, for an arrow to hit you, it doesn't mean it will kill you. Because these people were wearing the armor, just like anti-bullets today. These armors do protect from some type of, and because it was so far from them, when they hit their arrows, it did hit them, but it didn't kill them. But they were all hit somehow by these flying arrows. At that moment, Al-Hurr turns his horse and goes to Imam Hussein salawatullahi wasalamu alayhi. He approaches him. He said, Halli min tawbah. Imam Hussein says, yes, you can if you intend yourself to be someone who seeks repentance. At that moment, I said the arrows had come. So Imam Hussein asked Al-Hurr to come down from his horse. He said, Inni farisun laka rakiban khayrun minni rajilan. I am a warrior on the back of the horse, O Imam, is better than a warrior on foot. And please, O Imam, since I was the first one to stop you, let me be the first one to die in front of you. And he gives him permission, and he goes to the battlefield, and he dies with his son. Abis and his Mawla Shawdhab also, they exhibited the most amazing display of bravery and courage in protecting Imam Hussein salawatullah wasalam alayhi. So much so that some of the riwayat says that when he went into the battlefield, and these people of Shakir are well known to Amir al-Mu'mineen, by the way. They were with him in Jamal. The Al-Shakir, they were with Amir al-Mu'mineen. So much so that Amir al-Mu'mineen, salawatullahi wasalamu alayhi, he says about the family of Shakir, the tribe of Shakir, Wallah, لو تكامل ألف أو ألف فارس من آل شاكر لعبد الله حق عبادته. To that extent, these people were warriors and religious and committed to the cause of Amir al-Mu'mineen, salawatullah wa salam alayhi. Shakir is one of them. Abis al-Shakiri, one of these people. He would go into the battlefield, they run away from him. They couldn't face him face to face. He took his armor. They said he must be having another armor under his garment. He took his garment to show them there is no armor under his garment. And one of them cries out, Ajuninta ya Abis? Have you gone mad? In the battlefield, who takes his armor off? He said, yes, the love of Hussein made me reconsider everything. It doesn't mean I became insane. No. The love of Hussein made me reconnect everything with Allah, because he is the door to Allah. ما خاب من تمسك بكم أمن من لجأ إليكم يا ابن رسول الله. So he goes, fights, and then they come on him in groups, they kill him and show them as well. And the last of them, and this is how I want to end my majlis. This is probably a character you've never heard of them. His name is Sa'id ibn Murrah Tamimi. A guy from Basra, 19 years old. 19 years old. Allahu Akbar. This guy just got married in Basra. The following day in the morning, he starts hearing news about Imam Hussein being, circulated. He has no one. He needs to be, with people to come and rescue him. He's just arriving in Karbala. He's hearing all this news from everyone around him, from a lady in Basra who was well known in her loyalty to Ahlul Bayt. Her name is Maria, her name, and she used to fund all the people who would go and fight for Imam Hussein. She would give them money to go and fund them. So he comes to his mother. He says, give me my armor and give me my sword. She says, where are you going? He says, I'm going to fight with Hussein. She said, you just got married. Go to your wife, sit with her, try to talk to her. He said, my decision is final. I'm talking to our youth. To our youth, when you are called upon, inshallah, when the Imam comes, be ready. Don't falter. Don't be among those who are wearing makeup, or nail polish, or 17 earrings and piecing. How are you going to fight with the Imam? Salawatullah wa salamu alayh. Or your body is covered from head to toe with tattoos. Ajib, wallahi. Ajib, right? These are the kind of people. He's married, 19-year-old. So his mother comes to him. You know what she says to him? She says, haven't I carried you for 9 months in my tummy? Do I have a right on you? He says, yes, ya Ummah. Of course you have a right on me. He says, then when you get to Karbala, say this to my Imam. Look at that mother. He said, Ummi tuqri'uka as-salam wa tatlubu minka ash-shafa'ata yawm al-qiyamah. My mother sends her salam and greeting to you, and she asks that on the day of judgment you would give her your shafa'ah. Then this man arrives in the morning of what? Of the 10th of Muharram. And he goes into the battle. At that time, Imam Hussein is left alone. Salawatullah wa salamuhu alayh. Is left alone. There's no one with him. Salawatullah wa salamu alayh. When he gets there, he's standing alone and he's crying out, بأبي أنت وأمي يا أبا ألا هل من ناصر ينصرنا ألا هل من ذاب عن حرم رسول الله. And he's looking towards Basra. The Imam is looking towards Basra. Umar ibn Sa'd is looking at Imam, monitoring him. He wants to see how to, jump on him and kill him. And then he says to Imam Hussein, it seems you're waiting for someone. He says, there is one more soldier of mine has not arrived. All of a sudden, a warrior appears on the back of his horse. Imam Hussein looks towards Basra and he said, are you Sa'id al-Tamimi? He said, yes, ya ibn Rasulillah. I am Sa'id al-Tamimi. He said, come, welcome. So he goes to him. He says, oh my Imam, do you permit me to go to the tent of your woman to bid farewell and to say salam to Sayyida Zainab? He stands in front of the tent of Sayyida Zainab. He says to her, Assalamu alaykum ya banat Rasulillah. One of the women in the tent, she says, who is this man giving salam to us when all the companions of the Imam have perished? He said, I am your servant Sa'id. I came from Basra to give my help to you. When Sayyida Zainab heard him, she said, Assalamu alayka ya Sa'id. لا تقصر عن نصرة الحسين. Peace be with you, O Sa'id. Do not neglect the help of Hussein. Sa'id went and took permission from Imam Hussein to fight. When he entered the battlefield, he began to kill left, right, and center. He intensified the battle with them until he cried out from the battlefield, Sayyidi Aba Abdullah, alayka minni salam. Imam Hussein walked towards him. He sat by his side. He said, "O Sa'id, indeed you are happy, just like your mother named you, and you shall be happy in this world and the hereafter. And I can assure you that your mother is with my mother in Jannah." Allahu Akbar. Look at the way she raised that son. بقي الإمام وحيدا غريبا. At that moment he looked towards the battlefield, began to speak to his companions. والله يقرح القلب أبو عبد الله. He started saying, يا برير، يا مسلم، يا مسلم ابن عوسجة، يا حبيب ابن مظاهر، يا زهير ابن القين، يا أصحاب الصفا ويا فرسان الهيجة، ما لي أناديكم فلا تجيبون، أنيام أنتم لا تنتبهون، أم صرعكم ريب المنون والدهر الخؤون، وإلا ما كنتم عن نصرتي تقصرون. يقولهم جاوبوني يا ليوث الغاضرية، جاوبوني دارت الدنيا علي، جاوبوني من العجل رحتم من إيدي. الله أكبر. The Imam is calling and telling them, why aren't you coming to my rescue? Why can't you hear me? Or is it because death has separated you from me? Otherwise you would not have been negligent of giving your support to me. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء، أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء، أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء، أمن يجيب. Last one from the bottom of your heart with the loudest of your voices. أمن مضطر إذا دعاه. بحق محمد وآل محمد وبحرمة الفاتحة مع الصلوات.